Good morning guys, let's start off day 2 of our trip. Got a long trip ahead of us today. We're going to try and do the 2 border crossings today. I did a little bit more research last night and I found out that we need a form for the Portuguese and Spanish crossing as well. I couldn't download a copy of it online, but I understand that the police at the border crossing are giving the forms out, and then we just need to queue up and fill the form in before we can cross into Spain. I think that'll be the only hold up. By all accounts the roads are very clear, like they were when we came up here yesterday, so I'm not expecting to be held up on the road at all. So I managed to have the forethought to get hold of a box of 100 of these latex gloves, because although we've seen other people using gloves at toll booths, and no doubt they'll be using gloves at the border crossing, they're just using one pair and then they're touching everybody's documents and coins and cash and everything, so that's not doing any good at all. So we need to protect ourselves. So there's 100 gloves here. I'm going to give every van that's with us in our convoy 20 gloves each, and then they can use one at a toll booth, discard it, use another one at a border crossing, discard it, and that way we're better protected, because I don't feel that relying on others is the way to go. And we're just going to take a trundle back, you know, safely as possible. We're not going to go mad, and hopefully we can get into France to our little park up just on the other side of the French border by later on today. The guys are just sorting out their vans, making some sandwiches for the trip. We've just handed out the gloves so everybody can obviously be as safe as possible, and we're just going to set off in about 10 or 15 minutes time. So we've got all our documents ready. I've put our passports in a plastic wallet. I'm going to try and keep them in there. Don't really want anybody else touching them if I can avoid it. Hopefully they'll be okay with that. Printed off our tunnel crossing just to prove that we have got a tunnel crossing booked, so there's no arguments about us going home. That's definitely what's on the agenda today. And we've also printed off the form. I can't show you it because I filled it in, but which gives us the okay to travel back through France. Now there's another one of these forms I believe that we need to fill in on the Portuguese and Spanish border. I haven't been able to download one of those, but I understand the police at the border will issue those, so we might have a little bit of a wait on the first one while we fill those forms in, but hopefully that won't be too long. Right guys, so day 2 of the trip, we're on the road again. We're back on the toll roads now, and we're heading further north to the border crossing. I did check online, there's only 9 places where you can cross the border. I did actually contact the local GNR and confirm that we can get through on the crossing that I'm heading towards. So we're heading to Chaves on the north border of Portugal, and it's been confirmed that we can cross there without any problems. We probably will have to pick up the local form and fill that in while we're on the border to allow us to travel through Spain. So I just want to say, obviously the video's been out for a couple of hours this morning, and we've been reading some of the messages while we've been driving along here. I want to say massive thanks for all of your support. We really do appreciate all the messages that you guys are giving us. Thank you for all the help and assistance as well. Some of the messages are very encouraging, and you know, hopefully now that the message has got around, things will be starting to get much better as well in the UK. So we are doing our bit as well. We're doing everything we possibly can to minimise our impact. We're doing everything we possibly can to isolate from anybody on our travels. I just want to clear one thing up, because there's been a couple of comments. The guys that we're travelling with, we've been with, this is our 4th week now, so nearly a month we've been together. And as van life people, we are isolated anyway. We live in a van, we're in a very small community, we're like a family of people. We don't come into contact with locals that often, and obviously from the very outset of this, you know, when we found out about this, we've been doing everything that we needed to do. So we've been following all the local laws and regulations, we've been following all the rules that have been laid down about the virus and about hand sanitising, gloves, keeping your distance from people. So believe me, we are presenting the minimum of risk to anybody else that we come into contact, and we would expect everybody else to do the same. So the guys that we're travelling with, as I say, we've been with them a month. Nobody here has got any symptoms. So I feel confident. We're in the country and we're in a location where there was literally minimal outbreak. It was literally in the 20s, the numbers of people in the whole of the south of Portugal. So we were in a really good area anyway. So I feel confident. But obviously, having said that, we're taking every precaution possible. We've got gloves, so we're using gloves. Every time we go to a toll booth or we fill up at a petrol station, we use a set of gloves. We sanitise our cards. We're using contactless if possible. We're doing everything we possibly can. You know, we can't do any more. So, you know, please don't worry about that. And then obviously the few comments, rightly so, when we come back to the UK, we will self-isolate for a minimum of 2 weeks. We are not going to see our family. My mum is elderly and her immune system is not as good as a lot of people. So there's no way I'm going to be putting her at risk by going to visit her. My daughter has got a brand new baby boy. There's absolutely no way I'm going to be putting them at risk either, or anybody else in the UK. We're coming home because we've been asked to by the government. The Foreign Office have said that any non-resident UK citizen needs to come home. Things are going to change rapidly, and you are far better off being back in the country where you are a national of that country, because things like health system, insurances, and all that support network that is put in place to look after us people as UK citizens, we are far better off being back home, and that is what the government are advising. If you go on to the website links that I'll put in the description below, you can read for yourself. The government and the Foreign Office are strongly advising everybody that is a UK resident to come home. So please, everybody else that think it's okay to just hunker down in a foreign country, please, please, please come home. You know, we're doing our bit. I think you may find that if you get stuck and you're in a problem in a foreign country, you may be less likely to be supported. That's the biggest issue. Also, your own insurance policies, health insurance, vehicle insurance. If you haven't heeded the advice of our government and come home, you may find that your insurance companies will take a dim view of that. If you have a problem over here, they may say, why didn't you come home? So don't risk it, guys. You know, it's just crazy. You know, come home. You know, it's the safest option, and it's by far the best way to do it, the best way to deal with it, and that's what we're doing. So it's a glorious sunny day. We've got a beautiful view. There's nobody on the road here, so we're going to just track back nice and safe and sound. We'll get through the border crossings with minimal impact to anybody that we come into contact with en route, and hopefully in a couple of days' time we'll be back in the UK safe and sound. We have got a tunnel crossing. The tunnel crossing has been booked. I'm really pleased about that, because again, with the ferries, the least contact with anybody else on ferries and things like that. At least with the tunnel, we can be inside our vehicle. We're less risk to anybody else. Everyone else is less risk to us. It's by far the best way to come back. We'll keep you posted. I will put these videos up on a daily basis, because I think it's helpful for everybody to share information about what's going on currently and keep everybody up to date with what's happening. So I'll edit this as soon as we get to our park up tonight, get it out again, and then you guys can see that we are doing our bit. We are being safe, we are isolating, and we're doing everything we possibly can to get home with minimal impact. and Spanish border. I'm not sure whether we'll be able to film much there because obviously there will be police around, so we need to be respectful. We'll see what we can do to show you what the situation is leading up to it, but if I can't show you, I'm sorry. Yeah, 10 minutes. We're expecting there to be a little bit of a wait there. We've got to fill out a form apparently, and then hopefully we'll get through without too much trouble and we'll be on our way through Spain.
We've just been through the border, we think, and we didn't get stopped at all, did we?
I don't think we're past the Spanish police yet. That was the Portuguese police. So here's the Spanish border.
Hola, buenos días.
¿Hablan
español?
English.
English, a little.
We have a ferry crossing.
Going home?
We have a tunnel crossing in France on Thursday to go back to the UK. So we are heading back to England.
One moment, please.
And
One moment.
Okay.
Inglés. Ven para aquí, inglés. A ver, pues si no del bar, pues ahora.
Where are you from?
England.
England, UK. We've got a tunnel crossing to go back to the UK on Thursday, so we're heading back to England.
I don't speak English.
Okay.
Okay.
Wait a moment. It's an auto caravan.
Yes.
Auto caravan.
You are home. You go home.
We go
Yes.
home.
Vale.
Go to England.
Yes.
Go to England.
Passport, please.
So we're just at the Portuguese-Spanish border, obviously being stopped by the Spanish police. They just obviously asked us what we were doing. We said we're heading straight back to the UK. We showed them our tunnel ticket. They've filled out a form. I can't show you all the details, but they filled it out. We just had to put our phone number and home UK address, and they specifically told us that we can't be in Spain any longer than 1 day on our trip back to the UK. I mean, as it happens, I didn't plan to be in Spain anyway, so we're driving right the way through to France now, hopefully. So it was fairly simple, easy little procedure. It only took 5 minutes to do the form. The police were very helpful, so no problems at all. We're just waiting for the others now to do their bits and pieces, and then we'll be back on the road. So the border crossing was fairly straightforward. We were really only there about 5 or 10 minutes at the most. They took all our details, filled out that form. The only thing we was a little bit unhappy about was them handling our passports in order to take the information. But we did see the police officer sanitise their hands before going on to the next person. We then obviously did sanitise our own passport as well. You know, we're doing everything we can to try and minimise our own risk as much as anything else. So it was fairly straightforward. The roads are completely empty. There are lorries driving around with goods and services. That's to be expected. And we see the odd van or the odd car, but they're very few and far between. And I guess that's people just making their own way home as well. So on a positive note, while we're on lockdown and we're self-isolating in the van, we can't go anywhere, I'm going to use the time productively, and I'm going to create some more videos and put a lot more content out that'll be useful for you guys. And obviously while you're stuck at home as well, hopefully that'll be interesting for you to watch and give you something to have a look at. I mean, if you're planning a van build or making alterations to your van, or just interested in looking at our travels that we've already done for something that you want to aspire to in the future, I'm going to put out a lot more content while I've got the opportunity, and hopefully that'll keep me busy and it'll also benefit you at the same time. So just let me know in the comments below if there's anything in particular that you'd be interested in having a look at, whether it be what we cook in a van, how much does my van cost, how do you plan a trip abroad, or you know, anything at all, whether it be technical, electrics. I know we've done a lot of that sort of stuff, but drop me a note in the comments below, give me some ideas, and then I'll create some content while we're all sitting indoors. So we were about 4.5 hours into this stage of the journey, and the guys needed a bit of a comfort break, and a couple of them are also travelling with some dogs, so obviously they've got to let the dogs out to go to the toilet. So we just had a quick 15 minutes, no longer, and then we're back on the road. The sat nav's saying now that we've got about 3.5 hours left to get to our final destination, so we've definitely broke the back of this journey, which is good. That's a bit of a boost for morale more than anything on these long trips. And we've just had an email from Eurotunnel as well about our tunnel crossing with some good news. Basically they're saying to anybody who's got a ticket and wants to return to the UK to just turn up at the port, queue up, check in and get on the first available train. So there might be a little bit of queuing involved, but essentially we could just go there, check in and get straight on the train that's sitting there waiting. So that's not bad news really, that's good. We could probably get back a little bit quicker. And anybody else who's got a ticket, they're not charging you anything for transferring the date and time or anything like that. I think there would normally be an admin fee. They're not going to do any of that. There's no charge, just literally turn up, check in, get straight on and get home. So that's really good news. We've already got the paperwork, we printed it off and signed it all for the French portion of this trip. Luckily I found it on the French website and managed to download it. So hopefully that will speed up the crossing when we get to the French border. We should just be able to show our paperwork, explain one or two things and then be on our way. So guys, it's been a long day. We're less than an hour away from the French border now. Hopefully with that paperwork that we've got, we're going to be able to get through there easy without any problems, because obviously as you can see it's dark now, so finding somewhere to park, if the park up I've got is not suitable, we're going to be pushing it a little bit. So fingers crossed we get through the border without any issues and the park up's okay, and we can get our heads down and prepare ourselves for the drive tomorrow. So guys, that was really simple, really quick. Brilliant that we had that paperwork already filled out. We told the guy that we had the tunnel crossing booked. He looked at the paperwork, he said yep, that's all in order, carry on through. So simple, we literally wasn't 30 seconds, so well worth doing that. So we made it to our little park up in the south of France, just in the van, everybody's tucked up in bed. I'm just finishing off this video now. It's been a long day on the road, about 10 hours it's taken us today to get across Spain, but I'm so pleased that we've made both those border crossings and got through one of the most infected countries in Europe. If you've got friends and family that are doing this return journey, send them the links to these videos, because I'm sure that will help them make their trip a little bit easier. Tune in tomorrow for the leg up through France, and hopefully, you know, we won't get stopped too much on our way back to the tunnel crossing.